Welcome to Presently Presents.
Just not having done anything sort of live and as me before kind of thing was just a whole new experience. And I do get some really great opportunities through QVC. The sort of things that I get to present there are fun. Obviously it's live, so there's like a kind of buzz around it, and obviously we have quite a lot of sort of celebrity names come in, so it's a real highlight to present with people who, you know, I've admired, who I've seen on screen before. Like sometimes you need to remember, like, enjoy those quiet periods, rest when you are quiet because you'll soon be busy again. Like it always sort of turns itself around. The things will come back up again, and then you'll like wish for a couple of days off because you'll be exhausted.
Hello and welcome to the Presently Presents podcast. I'm your guest host, Esme Todd, and it's great to have you with us. We've taken a little break from recording, but we are back and we've got some incredible interviews lined up with presenters who are making real waves in the broadcasting industry. And if you're new here, Presently is a platform that connects media employers with talented presenters and helps presenters discover exciting job opportunities. So let's dive into today's episode. So today's guest is a UK-based presenter with over 10 years of on-camera experience. She began her career hosting live television on a shopping channel where her natural warmth and engaging presence quickly set her apart. Laura has featured on BBC West Midlands Sunday mornings, was a finalist for BBC New Voices in 2019. She's presented for major brands including Holland & Barrett, Dell and QVC UK, and is an actor, event host and also a presenter. So today's Presently Presents guest is Laura Fleming. So Laura, thank you so much.
Yay! Thank you. That was nice. I forgot half those things I'd done then. It's like, oh, yeah.
It's always the way when people bring it up, and then my question when people get it always throws me when people say, "What sort of work do you do?" And then on the spot you're like, "I have no idea. Every job's gone from my head, so I never know what I've done." I'm like, nothing at this point.
Yeah, I've literally never presented. Actually, I don't know.
So, tell us how you got into the industry and what was your first ever presenting role and what led you there.
So my sort of route into presenting was a bit of a kind of like winding path, really, and then I kind of almost accidentally fell into it in the end, I guess. So I started off acting. That's kind of always what I wanted to do, and I did that for years and years and years. I still do a little bit of it, and then I somehow fell into singing at one point. So I used to be in sort of like a vocal harmony trio. And again, I did that for however many years I was doing that. And then when all that was sort of coming to an end, we were sort of deciding to kind of end the group and go our separate ways. And I remember saying to my husband at the time, we used to go on these like really long dog walks. And I used to say to him, like, I don't know what to do next. I just don't know what I'm going to do next. I've got absolutely no idea. Like, I don't want to have to go and get a sort of quote unquote normal job. And then we started sort of discussing all the transferable skills that I'd got from acting, from singing, from all these things that I'd done, from all these like mad jobs that I'd also done to fund those sort of jobs that were like passion jobs. And I was like, all of those things kind of, I feel like would all come together in being a TV presenter. And I remember I used to like use examples of TV presenters. I'd love that person's job. I'd love to do what that person's doing. And then he was like, okay, so do that then, like start chasing being a presenter. And I was like, yeah, but I don't know how to do that. And it was literally like within that probably 2 or 3 week period, it may have even been that week, I was on one of the sort of casting websites and I saw a job come up for, based here in the Midlands, a shopping channel, so for selling jewellery. And I was like, well, I'll apply for that. I mean, that would be a foot in the door presenting. It would be a bit of experience, not expecting for a second that I would get it. And then, so I applied, I auditioned and I got the job. And so that was kind of my route in. And then it all like flowed really naturally from there. So for acting, for example, it was like I had to push and push and push. And with presenting, it was like I got that one job and then it kind of snowballed and it just all felt easy. And I was like, oh, I feel like I've sort of found like where I belong now, rather than I kind of have always felt with acting that I'm, maybe this is all sort of in my own brain, but as though I'm really having to like push for it. Like I'm kind of like forcing my way in, whereas presenting all just felt really natural, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, maybe it just like all felt like it clicked into place, which is quite nice. Yeah. And I guess it's quite lucky that you just happened to be on casting websites and seeing that job, because I guess imagine if that job hadn't have come up, it might have in that time you might have been thought, oh, do you know what, this is too hard. It's kind of like lucky that there was such a good opportunity there for you. And how was it doing the first day of presenting and being Laura and not being a character?
I think that's why I enjoy it so much. I think I'd got to the point where I didn't want to have to play a character anymore. Like I wanted to just be me. And yeah, so I really enjoyed it. That being said, absolutely terrified. Like I remember the first day that I actually went on air at this channel, I wasn't even presenting. I had to sit with another presenter who, funnily enough, now guest presents where I am at QVC. So we sort of still are kind of in the same circle. And she's a lovely lady called Ruth. So I had to sit with her, and she was kind of presenting, and she sort of introduced me and another girl who'd started. And all I had to really do was sit there, watch what she was doing, because she was self-producing on a little screen as well. So she was sort of showing me the ropes, talking to the camera, whatever, kind of interacting with us occasionally. And my heart was absolutely out of my chest. And I look back at that now and I'm like, what was I nervous for? I only had to sit there. But just not having done anything sort of live and as me before kind of thing was just a whole new experience. And it's all those things of, you'll know, like all those things of talk back and, you know, just all of those skills that you've got no idea about yet, and that you're trying to kind of take it all in while your adrenaline's pumping. But no, it was lovely, just terrifying to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite an intense job to have as your first one. And my first, I did local TV first presenting, but then my first freelance, I've applied to a job and I've done it, was a video for a pension company. But it was very much memorize a little bit of script, deliver it to the camera, and then that was it. So it wasn't like the whole earpiece live. There was nothing else to really think about. As long as I remembered the script, that was the main thing. But I feel like if you had an earpiece in, which is quite overwhelming, especially if you haven't done it before, and knowing it's live and having a studio, actually, it's quite a brave job. But maybe that's what helped you, because you got thrown straight in at the deep end, which is probably a good thing. And obviously you do mostly presenting now. Do you prefer presenting, would you say, over acting? Do you still, like, if you were sat there and you think, right, I'm really honest with myself, what would be my dream role? Do you picture an acting role? Do you picture a presenting role? Or maybe a singing role? Who knows?
Oh yeah, not singing. Never again. I had my time doing that. Never again. I loved it in the sort of setting I was in, the group that I was in, but outside of that, I'm not a soloist. But I used to go back and forth with this loads. I think now it's presenting. I used to go back and forth a lot with it, but and I do still love acting. They've both got their like perks to me. They've both got a different kind of like allure to me. And because I don't do so much of the acting, I don't sort of push for it as much anymore. When I do occasionally get a role and I go and do it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember why I love this so much. But I suppose because I do presenting more, I'm reminded more frequently of why I love it. So yeah, probably for that reason, when I picture what my dream life looks like and my dream role looks like, yeah, it is a presenting role.
Good, because that's the one thing you're doing more of. But I guess when you're a freelance, it doesn't really limit you as much as doing a proper quote unquote job, because you have that ability to go, oh, an acting job's come up, that sounds quite fun, I'll apply for that. Presenting jobs come up, that sounds fun, I'll apply for that. And you don't have to pigeonhole yourself, do you? Really, you can do a bit of both. A good example of that is someone like Laura Whitmore, who started doing lots of on stage stuff as an actor in plays, but she's obviously mainly known to being a TV presenter, but you can do both, you know?
Yeah, that's it. I think people are realising more and more, and actually the other way round, I feel like it happens more. You know, you see sort of ex soap stars coming over to, like, you know, do segments on This Morning, the competition segment on This Morning, for example. Like, there's so much crossover. I feel like they didn't used to be, or maybe I just didn't spot it as much because I wasn't doing it, but I feel like there's so much crossover, but it's because there's so many transferable skills. So yeah, I think you're right. It's like, it's only a good thing not to. I used to be really self-conscious of it. Like I was neither one or the other, and like, oh, am I just kind of spreading myself thin and I need to like niche myself down a bit? But yeah, now I think the opposite. I think it's good to be able to have those like transferable skills and be able to like dip your toe in everywhere and do a little bit of everything. And because the thing is as well, like there are so many creatives that kind of cross over in those industries. I've met people on acting jobs that I now do presenting work for, because it's the same company or whatever, the same production company. So yeah, it's good for people who do enjoy doing both, don't feel like you have to do one or the other, because it can help you.
Absolutely, I agree. So what has been your career highlight so far within your career in terms of presenting? Which job really stands out to you and think, God, I really loved that?
Oh God, that's so hard. I feel like I should have looked at my CV before I did this, because literally every job I've ever done has popped out of my head. But
I'll let you name a couple. It doesn't have to. You don't have to say one is the best. You can name a few that stand out to you as being good ones.
I mean, I must admit, I do get some really great opportunities through QVC. Those sorts of the sort of things that I get to present there are fun. Obviously, it's live, so there's like a kind of buzz around it, and obviously we have quite a lot of sort of celebrity names come in, so it's a real highlight to present with people who, you know, I've admired, who I've seen on the screen before. Like I think the first sort of celebrity name that I presented with on QVC was Danny Minogue, and I remember being like, 9-year-old me would be losing it right now, like actual Danny Minogue. You know, and a couple of weeks ago I was presenting with Tess Daly. Like, I'm a massive Strictly fan, and I'm like, this is so mad that I'm now just stood here having a nice old chat with Tess Daly, you know, like,
and as equals as well. Like,
yeah,
you're working alongside. Was that hard in the sense that you've done QVC for a while now? I'm assuming, but I might be wrong, that you don't get as nervous these days as compared to, so you must go on to it. I've done this. Did that add a level of new nerves having her next to you, or not too bad?
No, not really. I think there's probably a pressure because just in terms of I don't know, in terms of you know that these pieces, that the pieces that you're on there sort of selling are going, like, there's an expectation that they're going to do well. So I think there's probably a nerves based on that, but only in the same sense that there'd be nerves with any big brand or big promotion that we've got going on, you know, something like that, like some more pressure than nerves, I guess. But no, not in terms of nerves, really. It's really weird. I've found, and to be fair, I've never really been bothered by celebrity, like by that whole sort of, I don't really get starstruck. But I think, you do feel like equals because you're both just there doing a job. And you kind of forget that it's Tess Daly off of Strictly, or, you know, Danny Minogue off of 90s pop music. Like, you know, it's like when you're there, it's just another lovely guest presenter. And like I say, I do it all the time with other guest presenters who aren't necessarily like big sort of celebrity names, who are, you know, just as talented and just as wonderful. And so it kind of just feels the same, really, which I suppose is a relief that I don't have to get incredibly nervous every time I do those shows.
Yeah, but also it must be really good for your showreel and things like that to have you alongside big celebrities and presenting with them, because it gets, I know it shouldn't really, because I feel like your own talent should be enough, but sometimes having those people with you almost adds an element of credibility to what you're doing. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do.
It should be about what you can do, but there isn't. When you see someone's showreel or profile and they're presenting alongside big people, you kind of think, oh, fair, like they're equals, you know?
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. I feel so the same, that like it really shouldn't make a difference. But I think for certain people watching your show reel, it does. They've done that. They must be good, you know. Whereas it's like, you should have just probably watched the rest of the show reel and seen that I'm alright at it anyway, regardless of who I'm presenting alongside. But no, you're right. And I think in the back of our minds as presenters, you're probably the same. You're doing a job and you're thinking, this is gonna look good on my show reel, you know. And there's other freelance jobs that I've done, and you get there and the setup is so cool, and you think, I can't wait to put this on my show reel. So yeah, there's those like really great. I was just watching your show reel actually just before we came on. Yeah, I just had a little lurk. And you've done some lovely jobs. I was like, you've done some such lovely stuff. So, but you kind of forget, don't you, until you go back and rewatch your stuff, and you go, actually, I've done some really cool things.
Yeah, and also it's funny when you say about like the jobs where you think, that's good for my show, because I've had the opposite, where it's jobs where you think, you have jobs you think, this is never going anywhere. I'm never posting anything about this job. Yeah. But you also have jobs, which I hate, when it's like a live job and you think, this looks so cool, but there's no way of capturing this. Like, even if I get behind the scenes video, it's not attached to the live mic, so the sound's terrible. And I've done interviews like running events, for example. I interviewed Dermot O'Leary and Vicky Patterson and other celebrities. And it's like, this looks really cool. I'd love this in a show reel, but there's no recording of it because it's live. So that's always a bit of a pain, I find. So have you had a most memorable job that you've done so far? This doesn't have to be the best job. It doesn't have to be a good job. Just something that, and also if it's a bad thing, you can obviously hide some details. But yeah, have you ever had a job that you thought, wow, this is really interesting?
Oh God, let me think. In terms of bad ones, there are definitely ones that you do and you go, this is never seeing the light of day. So, you know, I'm happy for nobody to ever see this. And the funny thing is, oftentimes those things actually do see the light of day. Like, so I've done a lot of like sort of internal, like corporate jobs that are like internal training videos, for example. So they're going to be seen by a very limited amount of people in that industry. But then they'll, I'll get a message from somebody saying, "Oh, I was just doing some training at work," and I'm thinking, "Oh no, I really hoped nobody would ever see that." So there are things like that where like the language is you've probably done these sorts of jobs where it's like really internal corporate language, and you think, "Oh, am I doing the right inflections? And am I pronouncing this?" It's very sort of convoluted. I think memorable jobs. I don't know why this one always pops into my head in a good way. Is for a couple of years I hosted the Great British Pub Awards. That's it, Great British, but yeah. And it was sort of like the live stream build up to it, and that was really fun. It was kind of like in I think it might have been 2 different venues, but up in Manchester in like big sort of warehouse, they had like the live event. I think so. The first year it was presented by. Who was it presented by? I think maybe Russell Kane. I could have got that wrong. The second year I did it was Edith Bowman, so I got to interview her, which was really fun as well. And that always sticks out in my head as sort of being memorable because the team were just so lovely. Like it was really good fun. It was obviously because it's the pub awards. It was loads of pubs from all around the country. The atmosphere was amazing because obviously they know how to party. Like they know how to do a night out. And it was just like a really good buzz about it. So I really enjoyed that one. So that one probably sticks out.
Oh, I think I've seen that on your Instagram before. Yeah, I mean, we should also preface, we do know each other. We're not just... It's still so corporate, isn't it? Like, tell me about these jobs you've done that I've never heard of before. Oh, wait, I've seen probably all of them before.
Yeah.
But, no, that's fun. You were just saying about, sometimes jobs you don't want people to see. Are there jobs that come to you, and I know that I've had loads of these, where you think, oh, it's great money, but I just don't know if I want to put my face to that. Because I've had one recently that ended up being, which I said no to, which was a political. It wasn't for a political party, but it had a real endorsement of a political party.
Okay.
And these sorts of things. And actually, the political party was one that I vote for. It wasn't like it was something that I disagreed with. It was just thinking like, oh, is this going to be something that I actually want to be associated with in terms of like, do I want to be the girl who does politics stuff? No, not really. Do you have things like that?
Yeah. I had one come up, and I'd not long had. So I'm a mum. I'd not long had my daughter, and at the time, anybody who has done maternity leave on a self-employed basis will know that the maternity pay is absolute rubbish. So like, I was kind of getting back doing the odd little bit of work, and I was like, God, I could really do with the money. And it was a sort of 3-day job. So obviously it wasn't like the day rate wasn't amazing or anything, but it was decent. Over the 3 days, it would have earned me an all right amount. But it was for, I'll just say what it was. It was vaping, basically, which, I mean, lovely. If you do it, good for you. Go for it. I'm not here to judge. I don't. And it's not something that I would necessarily want to put my face to because it's not something that I necessarily agree with doing or whatever. But I really ummed and ahed about it because at the time, like I say, just like money wise, I was thinking, oh gosh, like, I really could do with the work. It's, I've just been off for so many months and all of this stuff. But then, like you say, you have to sort of weigh it up because it's not just a case of going and doing something and being the behind the scenes person, doing the filming. You never have to show anybody it, photographing something, for example. Like my husband's a photographer. And I always say to him, you could go and do those sorts of jobs. No one need ever know it was you that took that photograph unless you tell people, unless you post it. For us, it's so different because that's our face on it, potentially like in perpetuity, So it's you really have to weigh it up. But that is so difficult sometimes because we know being freelance, you so want to say yes to everything that comes along.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been, I think, I'm not sure I said on this podcast before when I've hosted it, but for years I wanted to do kids presenting. I still do a little bit of kids presenting. I haven't done anything like huge, but I've done some kids presenting. And as a result, I've always kept my social media pretty clean. I don't swear on socials. I wouldn't do vaping or anything smoking, anything that's like considered over 18. I wouldn't do anything to do with alcohol. So yeah, funny enough, someone actually asked me about a vaping job recently, and I had to say no. So imagine if it was the same.
I wonder if it's the same. Let's discuss that later.
Yeah, I'm curious. But yeah, no. And another one for me is actually gambling. I've always stayed really clear of gambling, just because some people have like quite old-fashioned views towards things, and they don't want to sort of touch it. And I've been careful, but hey, I see people do gambling stuff and then they do other cool jobs that are for kids, and it obviously doesn't necessarily hold you. I'm just so risk averse as a person that I just don't want to be like, oh God, that one job I did has like, stuck with me. You mentioned there about, some day rate not being amazing. do you enjoy having the flexibility of your finances? Do you mind when people say to you, oh, Laura, we want to book you for this job. What's your day rate? And you get told, and they're like, just name your budget. Do you find that an easy conversation or?
No, no, I hate it. I'm like, just tell me what your budget is, because oftentimes when they're having that conversation with you, they've got a budget in mind.
Yeah,
It's not as though I could name any number and they'd go, okay, So yeah, no, I always find those conversations difficult. A lot of the work that I do now actually is through sort of people I've worked with before, so less and less I have to have those conversations. Yeah. But yeah, when I do, I always find it uncomfortable. I think most, but do you find that those conversations?
I hate it because sometimes you say a rate and they go, oh, I'm so sorry, we just don't have that budget. Can we offer you this? And you think, well, I would have accepted. I'd accept that because I want the job anyway. Yeah. Sometimes I've done it before where you've said a rate and they've responded far too quickly with a yes, and full well
would have gone higher.
Full well they expected you to say a lot more. It's interesting. I was talking about this with my dad recently. He is not a presenter, never has been, but he did have a period of his life where he was working freelance, self-employed in sort of leadership training, interestingly. Right. So he was delivering these courses, and he's had it before where he has he went to a job and they said, oh, what will be your rate? And he said a day rate or a weekly rate or whatever it was, and they came back to him and said, I'm really sorry, we're looking for someone with more experience, and your day rate implies that you're actually not what we're looking for, because he'd undercharged what they were willing to pay. God. And he actually got rejected from the job because they were like, you're obviously not quite where we want you to be.
No way.
It's so interesting because he probably was good enough. He just was it was one of his first jobs. He wasn't used to pricing himself. So I'm always worried about overpricing. I'm always worried about underpricing. I guess with overpricing, the good thing is they will normally just come back and say, can you do this price?
Yeah.
There's always that fear where they'll just go, and I've had it before where I think a job's been, I or someone on my behalf has overcharged.
Yes.
And then they come back days later and they say, sorry, we went with somebody else. There's no haggling. They just immediately write you out and go to somewhere else. And you think, well, actually, I would have done it for less if you'd come back and said, it's that kind of thing. But
yeah. That's the difficulty, I think you were saying about somebody doing it on your behalf. I think that's the difficulty, because I tend to be, and this probably isn't maybe the most business savvy thing to say, but I tend to be a bit of a fence sitter with it. So I tend to be like, this would be my rate for a job like this. Obviously, if you've got a specific budget in mind, let me know and I'll see if that's something that I could accommodate. So I tend to sit on the fence so that they know that we can have a conversation. It's not just this price. Whereas I think sometimes if maybe an agent is speaking on your behalf or something, maybe they'd play a bit more hardball, and then that can happen. So, but then on the other hand, agents can often get you a fee that you maybe wouldn't have pushed for. So it swings around.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we'll come on to agents actually. What are your thoughts on you're not exclusively represented, are you? Do you have anyone you work with as an agent in terms of present, or any sort of non-exclusives? Do you have?
Yeah, I have. I'm sort of signed with a few agencies. They're people that I've been signed with quite a long time now, actually. So it's just things that sort of tick along in the background. I kind of forget maybe that it's even necessarily a thing until I get an email, and then I'm like, oh, lovely, So I'll get this sort of occasional job, maybe like 1 or 2 a year through these. I'm talking like per agency. So it's definitely worth being with them, and especially because they're non-exclusive. I always talk about, I think we've spoken before about it. I always sort of think, should I go down the more kind of exclusive agency route, especially trying to get into more sort of mainstream TV work. And I think that's when you kind of need those connections where I think agents could help you out. But again, that is a case of like the research behind it would need to be huge, because you need to be with the right person at the right agent, and so it's not something that I'd be against. It's definitely something I'd think about for the future. But yeah, at the moment, it's more just non-exclusive agencies.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I've had exclusive agents, I've had non-exclusive agents, I've had self-representation, I've done all the above. And
yeah,
I think the thing is, the landscape of TV has changed so much that actually having an agent, even if they have all the connections in the world, there's actually not that much opportunity in terms of TV anymore. So even if you're on the books of a great agency and they're fantastic and they've got all the contacts, it's not them that's holding you back. Sometimes it's just that there isn't actually that much work out there. I think, especially for unfamous new presenters. It's a really weird time, isn't it? And I think you've almost got more chance if you've been on social media like Love Island or TikTok or the Traitors of becoming a presenter these days than somebody who's been doing it like yourself for 10 plus years, or myself, I've done it for 8 years. It is a weird one. I know we've discussed this. What do you think about getting into these opportunities as a new, you're not a new presenter, but in terms of the wider audience? Yeah, unknown presenter. What do you say to that?
It is frustrating, isn't it? Because I think nowadays a massive thing is like your social media following, and obviously a lot of people just buy followers and then they look as though they've got a huge social media following, and that really works in their favour, which I'm not willing to do. So it's frustrating in a way. In another way, it's great because obviously then there is it's another way in, I guess. So, you know, we could very well go viral on TikTok or something, become influencers, and that would be our routine. But then equally annoying in the way that, well, I've been doing this for all these years and it took me to do that to then make it in an industry that I've been working at for all this time. So it's a really difficult one. In some ways I can see really good things, and then in other ways it's just like just another thing that you have to learn to do, and you think I'm more than capable of doing the end result, the presenting job. You know, it's why do I have to do all of these other things? Why do I have to now learn to be an influencer? It's exhausting, isn't it? And then you start thinking about, you know, do I go on the Traitors? Do I go on these reality shows to sort of try and up my profile a little bit? I mean, would you ever do anything like that?
I would do something like the Traitors. I think for me the difficulty is it's when you sign yourself up to something like that, which is such a hugely watched show. It's your very intimate sides of your personality get really exposed, and you're really offering yourself up to the opportunity to be I don't know, portrayed in a way that you don't. They do twist edits. It is a thing. Also, you know, there's a difference between how you might look when you present something versus how you might look when you're having a casual conversation with somebody else. I just worry about those, and I know of, you know, you see celebrities who do things like I'm a celeb, and then they come off way worse than they probably anticipate, and then it kind of ruins their career, or these sorts of things. I actually have a friend who did a sort of pilot thing for a reality show, and they were like, we love you, we'd love to have you on the main thing when we do it on telly. What do you think? We'll sign you up now. And they said, no, I'm not. I was just doing the pilot for fun. It was like being an extra, basically.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Possibly. They were like, this is fun, but they were like, there's no way I'm doing this. And I was like, boy, this is a great opportunity. And they were like, I'm not risking it. And it's so true. It's like, imagine the risk of it portraying you in a way that you don't intend to be portrayed. I don't know. It's just difficult, isn't it?
It is. It's hard. I think if I was right at the beginning of my career, I would easily go and do one of those shows. I mean, obviously not like Love Island or whatever, because I'm married. That would be weird. I'll do a lot of things for my career, but you know, cheating on my husband probably a bit too far. But Traitors, like I say, if I was at the start of my career and Traitors came along now, I'd be going and doing it immediately. But where I am now, like you say, if I got portrayed in there, because I know I've done reality show. When I was a singer, I did Britain's Got Talent, I did X Factor, I did that. I have seen how those edits can sort of cast you in a certain light and completely manipulate a situation to look like something it absolutely wasn't.
Yeah.
So, and also how much goes on behind the scenes, things you're told to say, and then you're like, oh, they were trying to create a storyline there. I wouldn't actually have said that. I was told to, or whatever. Now we've got too much to lose because we've put so much into our career. There's something to lose. Whereas if I was at the start and I had nothing to lose, I'd go and do it, and it'd probably work out great for me. So I suppose all that to say, it's a shame that the Traitors wasn't a thing 10 years ago, because I think that's one of those ones that seems to be launching a lot of people now. I've only just watched it, by the way. I'm like, so
wow, very late.
I know everyone kept raving about it, and I was like, I need to know what this. I didn't have any understanding of what it was. Plus, I love Claudia Winkleman, so I was like, I've got to watch it. But I watched all 3 seasons recently, so I finally understand what we're all talking about now when we binge the Traitors.
No, it's a great show. But the funny thing is, you know, you can go on it and be liked, but it doesn't necessarily mean it gives you opportunity off the back, because actually people kind of like that. What's his name? Have you watched the most recent series?
Yeah.
So Alexander, I just saw he's being announced as one of the presenters on Classic FM. He's doing a whole series. He's not like a full-time presenter, but he's doing this series for them. And I thought, he's never presented a thing in his life, this man. But it's about obviously his persona, and people love
Yeah.
him as a person, and actually Classic FM, I can imagine it really fitting him. So sometimes it's not necessarily the person who is the most presentery, it's actually just people who, you know, people just really like their personalities, seem to do the best off of it. But yeah, you're right. These people all get signed by the top presenting and talent agencies in the
Yeah.
UK. They go on to host things. I've seen them on The One Show. I've seen them on, you know, the small. And you think there's a part of you that gets frustrated, but then there's another part of me that just thinks that's just where it's going these days, and you have to
Yeah.
just kind of accept it. I don't think there's much you can really do to change it. It's like kind of beat either, what's the saying? Beat them or don't join them. Wait, what was it? Beat them or
You
join them?
can't beat them, join them.
If you can't beat them, join.
No, if you can't, yeah, if you can't beat them, join
If you can't beat them, join them. Yeah, my head was just like, what the hell? So yeah, I feel a little bit like that. But yeah, I think I would probably shy away from. I have actually applied for the Traitors before a long time ago, but I have actually now worked for the BBC as a presenter, so I don't think it does. It does mention about not having done work for BBC before on the application. So I think I'm gone. I'm out.
Oh.
Into this, we've talked obviously about a lot of the good parts of presenting. Just to bring it crashing back down to reality. Let's talk about rejection. How do you deal with rejection? And have you had any opportunities where you thought like, oh, I really wanted this, I haven't quite got it? And I'm sure we've all had them. But yeah, how do you deal with those situations? If you have any you could share.
From the sheer fact that I started as an actor makes me so used to rejection that it kind of, not that it doesn't bother me, but I'm able to like be very pragmatic about it, I suppose. I have had some that have just like been a dagger to the heart. So one that I've never spoken about publicly, so like publicly nobody really knows that this happened, only people close to me. I don't know if, I think we've discussed it, I think you probably know this.
But if you're saying what you're about to say, I do know. I think I know what you're going to say.
I think you know. But I don't tell that many people about it. So I got down to the final 6 for A Place in the Sun. And
exclusive.
Yeah, breaking news. It was just after lockdown. So like I lost my first presenting job. I got made redundant from in 2020, which was no bad thing. I was kind of, it ran its course there anyway, so I was more than happy to be leaving. But obviously to happen in the middle of lockdown was a bit scary. And then I went and did another job that I really didn't enjoy. Lovely people there and everything, but it was just sort of not for me. And it was not the sort of presenting that I wanted to do. And I was like, I can do more than this. I want to do more than this. And then that opportunity came along. The only thing that kind of softened the blow was I was auditioning for QVC around the same time. So I had both so the fact that I got QVC, I mean, lovely it would have been to get both of them. Yeah. But the fact that I got QVC, they weren't exactly the same time. I think QVC maybe came a little bit afterwards. But that obviously would have softened the blow a little bit. But I was so excited. And there was so many callbacks. I had to go and film sort of like a little like pretend episode basically in a mansion over in kind of like Beaconsfield kind of way. It was, and I loved doing it. I was like, oh, I could so see myself doing this. I'd get to travel. Like this would be absolutely incredible. I was so excited. The audition went really well as well. But it just didn't go my way in the end. They went down a completely different route. I think it was a guy they hired. In fact, it was a guy they hired. I worked with him at QVC, and he's a lovely man, so he very much well deserved. So it's fine. But yeah, I was just so gutted, and that's the one so that was like something like 2021. Even now we're in 2025, and I'm still like, that's the one that hurt the most in terms of presenting. Because
it's such an amazing. I would love to do A Place in the Sun, because I watch it sometimes. I actually watch it. I think that's one of those things. It's funny you talk about it, because I was talking to a friend once about shows you'd think, oh, I'd love to do that, and that was one of the ones I mentioned.
Yeah,
she was like, I'm really surprised. I didn't know you would want to do that. And I think, why wouldn't anyone want to do that? It's travel, like you say, and it's lovely. It's a really cushy, lovely type of show. Do you know what I mean? It's really, not that it's necessarily easy work, but it's cushy in the sense that it's such a, what's the word? Like wholesome. It's such a lovely show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's obviously sad that you didn't quite get that role, but the fact that you got to the final 6 is still obviously something to take away from, What was the process in terms of initial? Was it like a self-tape? Was it initial, hi, I'm interested, and how many stages were there?
Do you know what? It was an open casting, which I was really, really surprised that they would do, because they're so sort of, it's like a name of a show, isn't it? But they did like an open thing. So I saw this like sort of poster getting sent around, I guess social media or something. I can't really remember now. So I had to just do a little like piece to camera, like, hi, I'm Laura, I love this and I love that, and a bit about me sort of thing. And we'd not long. So a couple of years ago we'd moved into this house. It's our first house, and we'd done some like bits of renovations and whatever, so I was able to talk about that, and obviously I love to travel and things, so I sort of spoke about that. Then I got an invite to this audition, and it was like they sent over like a chunk of like the property listing, basically, as if you were to go and view a house. So I had all the property details, I had loads of chunks of scripts that I had to learn. So I had to learn like opening pieces to camera. Then and I had all this kind of background about like a fake couple that I had to learn and go and sort of interview this fake couple. No, they weren't a fake; they were a real couple. They just weren't looking to move house. You get it. But I sort of didn't know what was going to be thrown at me on the day, but I just had kind of general information about them that I could touch on and things like that. And it was quite a few weeks between everything, so I was like learning these scripts to within an inch of their life, because I was like, everything hinges on this. This is my dream. This is exactly what I want, you know. So again, I went and did the interview. I didn't know what rooms they were going to get me to do, so I had to learn all of these rooms, and I think I only got taken into 2 rooms. And yeah, it went so well. Like, they were really, really kind on the day. They're such a lovely production company. They're such a lovely team behind that show. So I think that was, then afterwards there was weeks and weeks of waiting, and I was constantly like chatting to my agent. Oh, we haven't heard anything yet. Like, we'll let you know. And it was like such a build up. And I think there, because I so wanted it so badly, that I lost my sort of pragmatic, logical brain, and I was planning my whole life, my whole career trajectory. Should I get this role? And I think that's why it hurt a little bit more. But the process was amazing, and I think actually even not getting it helped me massively, because like you say, just getting to that stage of final 6 was a massive confidence boost, and I think that then helped me going into QVC. I think I'd have maybe felt a bit of a fish out of water going into QVC, but because I had that little confidence boost just before it, I was like, no, I can do this. I got down to the final 6 of A Place in the Sun. I can do this.
Yeah. So you had, so it was a video and then the in-person one.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, that was all it was.
But that's really intense. Well, I've never heard of an audition. That sounds like a really hard audition.
Yeah, it was a lot. But it would need to be, wouldn't it, for a show like that? Because there's so much to it. Like, and I don't know if there was other stages after that. I think that was the final stage. I'll have to ask lovely Craig, who works at QVC, so he presents for them now. I'll have to ask if there was any more stages after that. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I guess it would have to be, because there's so much to that, and you're dealing with, like, genuinely, you're dealing with people who are handing over their hard-earned cash for a house. Like, you really have to. You're not just a presenter, you're like genuinely an estate agent at the same time, I suppose. Like, you're dealing with someone's life. So yeah, there's a lot. But it was a massively sort of high pressure, and I've never done anything even close to. I'd done big acting auditions, but I'd never done big presenting auditions where there was like a side of ad-libbing to it, where I was having to interview a couple and try and get my personality across, and at the same time being really knowledgeable about, like, you know, a house, and it was a lot.
Oh, well, I'm impressed that you got to that stage, but also it's nice for you to share, because, you know, people watching who might be at the start of their journey, it's very easy to see someone like you who posts a lot about work on Instagram, and they might be thinking, oh, well, how have they got all this work? It's, you know, they must get everything they apply for. And it's so not the case. And I can really relate to what you were saying as well about how you sort of kind of planning your life around that job. I mean, I had it the same with, at the start of the year, I was up for 2 kind of roles. One was a podcast for a company, and one was which was a monthly thing.
Right.
And one was a job that I actually got, which is a sporting thing that I'm hosting this year. So, but I had these 2 things, and I was waiting for answers from both of them, but I was really quiet for work in January and February.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things where you're like, if I don't get these 2 roles, there's nothing else in my coming up for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to, and, you know, I start spiraling. I'm gonna have to get another job, and I start like apply to other things, and I'm thinking, what am I gonna do? And then but in your head you're like, if I just get those things, I'm sorted. Because it was like, you know, the podcast was really decent. It was a monthly salary, like it was a really good job, which I obviously didn't get, which was gutting. But it's the way how it works. And my boyfriend's the one he always has to remind me, because I'm there like saying, well, when I do this and I do this, and we can do this, and he's always like, you haven't got the job yet. Don't get yourself excited, because you'll get, because he's the one who deals with it when I'm crying and I'm sad because I haven't got something. So it's a tough one, isn't it?
I think do you know, I've said this a lot. I don't know if I've ever said it to you, but I think this. you really, really remind me of me. You're a bit younger than me, but like you remind me of slightly younger me in that you are so passionate and so driven. And I think you probably, I think it's really hard one to kind of explain, but you're like, I want it and I can do this now and I really want it now. And then actually the rejections can be like even more crushing, like when that's when you're like that level of passionate. And I think when you're like that, not to speak for you, obviously if this isn't the case, correct me, but you really easily forget how well you're doing. You think, for God's sake, I'm quiet this month. Oh my God, like nothing's happening for me. I'm gonna have to go and get another job, because I literally did this at the end of last year, like, and people always say to me, oh, you're so busy, like you look so busy on social media. The end of 2024, I was like, oh my God, am I gonna have to like go and get some sort of something else to take me along that isn't presenting? Like, I just and then the start of this year has been ridiculously busier than I've ever had for a start of a year. It can turn around like that, and I think that it's really easy to look at other people on social media and go, they're really busy and I'm really quiet. But you're only seeing their busy period. I didn't post when I was quiet, so nobody knew I was quiet,
But people don't pay attention to what you're not posting. They pay attention to what you are posting. It's so funny because I've had it where I've been not working for a couple of months. I've had really quiet months. And I literally had it at the start of this year, I think it was. And someone messaged me on LinkedIn being like, have you got any tips for my career? And I was thinking, I ain't got any tips for my own career, let alone yours. Do you know what I mean? And I had to respond really honestly. And I was like, look, you've caught me in a really quiet couple of months. You're doing everything you're doing everything that I would be doing. There's nothing extra I can sort of say, because I think sometimes people think there's like this big secret out there, that like, well, I'm not getting roles, so what's their secret? How are they getting all these roles? There is no method. I think a lot of it is luck sometimes, and just reaching out to people at the right time, or be sort of posting on LinkedIn and someone happens to see it and they happen to ask you to, whatever, interview. And I mean, this sporting job I'm doing is it's hosting a major triathlon like world event, and I'd worked with the company before, and we just kept in touch. It was literally as instant as that. I just kept in touch with one of the ladies who I had worked with, and she was like, "Oh, by the way, we're looking for somebody to do something. Would you like to chat about it? And like, I'll send you the job spec." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, send it over. I'm interested." And now I'm doing it, and it's lovely because it's not just hosting. It's actually a lot of behind the scenes. There's a lot of planning. It's a lot of scripting and leading other people. So it's been a huge new role for me. But that just purely came from happening to have worked with this person once. It's so weird, but it's very difficult when someone gives you the whole, and I know it's from a lovely place, but when someone says, "Oh, you're doing amazingly, what's your tips, any advice, you're so busy," and you think, am I?
And do you know what, like I get messages like that on social media from time to time, and I'm such an advocate for helping people, because like you all know what it's like when you're first starting out. You've sent those messages yourself, I've sent those messages before, and I've been ignored, and I was like, I'll never be that person. When I appear to be doing well, I'm going to always help people. So I really, really try to give kind of good advice to people. I don't gatekeep anything. If I've got advice, I'll give it to somebody. But sometimes you're like, God, I sound like I'm gatekeeping. It's just that I've got like
nothing to say.
I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm not doing as well as you maybe have in your head that I'm doing. Like I have my quiet periods, and I find as well, and again, maybe you find it the same. Most freelancers do, I think, where you'll have months of quiet, or I'll have a few weeks or whatever of like just nothing, and then a million jobs all come in. It's like there's something in the air, a million jobs come in all at once, and I'm like rushed off my feet, and I'm like, oh my God, it's too much going on, I'm overwhelmed. And then it'll go really quiet again. So it's like you'll have a period where people, God, you're so busy. I'm like, yeah, but I wasn't last month when I didn't have any work for 2 weeks, So it can, like you say, no one's paying attention to the stuff you don't post, basically. I love that. I've never heard that before.
But also it's like for me with I think it's that thing when you don't have anything, that security blanket of something booked in. Jan and Feb, because I was quiet and I didn't have much coming. I had a couple of things, but not much booked in immediately soon. I panic. But this week I've got a couple of meetings. I've got a couple, recording this. I've got a couple of things like this. But as a week, it's very quiet. But last week I was really busy. I was away working, and next week I'm in Singapore for this sporting thing. So it's one of those things where it's like this week I can actually sit and relax. I've just been watching telly, and I've been chilling, and I've been going for runs, and I've been you know, and I think it's all about perspective, isn't it? When you feel like you've got something, you feel safe, you can enjoy those quiet periods. I just wish I could enjoy the quiet periods and when I'm, you know, at other
Oh
points.
God, it's so hard to do. Do you know what I found has helped me? not advocating for this to be the reason you have a child, but I'm so busy even on my quiet periods from work now because I'm just run ragged by a toddler that it's actually helped me in. I mean, it's not helped in a lot of ways in my career, but it has helped in ways where I don't have the time to stress about it now. I don't have the time to be sat there thinking, God, I haven't got any work. Like, I sort of don't realise, and then before I know it, some more work's coming in. It's almost like a nice little distraction, actually, sometimes. But no, I'm exactly the same as you. Like, sometimes you need to remember, like, enjoy those quiet periods, rest when you are quiet, because you'll soon be busy again. Like, it always sort of turns itself around. The things will come back up again, and then you'll like wish for a couple of days off because you'll be exhausted. So I'm just coming to the end of a busy period at the moment. But I've been saying this for about 2 or 3 weeks where I go, I've not got anything in this week. I'm going to chill. And then something really last minute will come. All of my jobs come in really last minute, including QVC, because I'm a cover presenter there. So, yeah, who knows? In my head at the moment, I'm like, I'm going to really enjoy this week and I'm going to really have some downtime. We'll see.
Oh, we'll see. Well, I hope you do. But yeah, you're right. It's very hard. It can be hard to not to sort of appreciate those quiet periods for sure. So what do you think makes a good presenter? When you see presenters and you think, oh, they're really good, what is it about them that you think is good?
I think it's when there's not like an act, like when I feel that there's not a persona being put on. I really, really appreciate that. Somebody who you feel like they're just being themselves, or maybe, you know, like a slightly sort of turned up volume of themselves. I always think is great. So I love anyone who can just be like off the cuff witty as well. Like I mentioned Claudia Winkleman earlier on. I love her, like particularly on Strictly. I absolutely love her on that because she's just so off the cuff, and I don't even necessarily half the time think she's trying to be funny. So I love that. But and I don't know Claudia. I've never met Claudia Winkleman. I just get the impression that is probably her personality off camera. Yeah. I think she's a kind of just a bit kind of kooky and cool, and you're just seeing that maybe in a slightly turned up version. Same with somebody like, Dermot O'Leary. I think he just seems fun. Someone like Alison Hammond, somebody like Davina McCall. Like all of these people, they could be putting on an act. I have absolutely no idea. They don't appear to me to be putting on an act. It just seems like they're genuine personality and that they really enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah, I think sometimes you meet. It's so nice when you meet a celebrity, and I met Dermot, as I said earlier on, and he was so nice. He was exactly what you expect. I
love that.
It was at the start of a sport. He was running the London Landmarks half marathon, and I was hosting it. So I ran into the sort of celebrity pen and was like, "Is there any chance I could speak to you?" And he was with this sort of PR lady, and she was like, "Oh, Dermot's doing another interview," because there was lots of telly people there, interviewing. And he was like, no, I'll come back to you in a second. And he went away and he genuinely came back over to me. I was like, right, I'm ready now. What would you like to, ask me? And I got him on the big loud mic for all the sort of fans and spectators to hear. And we chatted because my agent at the time was his ex kind of agent. So we spoke about that. But he was so lovely and so genuine. Like, when someone like really looks at you and you know that they're actually paying attention and hearing what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just thought I really liked meeting him, because it's like, it's nice to meet someone you think, you're so famous, but you just sound like a normal guy.
Yeah.
And that kind of gives you, I think more and more these days, because of social media, you're getting these huge personalities come through. And I think that's why we often do see a rise of people being like, of young celebrities being cancelled because they say these stupid things online. It's because they've gone from not famous to really like having hundreds of thousands of followers in about 2 days.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure for anybody to have. And I think somebody like him, he's like an old school celebrity in a way. But yeah, anyway, this sounds like a Dermot O'Leary fan podcast, but we
love him.
We do love him. And QVC, we've obviously talked about a bit. What have you learned from presenting there? Because obviously it is totally live. So people do say it's a great training ground for learning a lot of different skills. How have you found it?
Oh, it's awesome. It's so good. And I will stand by the fact that if you can do shopping telly, you can literally do anything, because there is so much going on all at once. And we have people come in who have presented elsewhere and come in and they're like, oh my God, what is it? Like, it's sensory overload, because it is like, the talk back, you've got no auto cue or anything like that. It is completely all ad-libbed. There are things happening, like, things could go wrong behind the scenes. You've just got to carry it on and look kind of seamless on air as much as you possibly can. And things can be going on behind the scenes that like hopefully the audience will never like be privy to. There's a lot, and like you say, that is exactly the way to describe it. Like, it is such a good training ground. Like, if anyone can ever get their foot in the door at shopping TV, it's such a good place to start, because you learn like all of the skills like really, really quickly. You're thrown in at a deep end. Like, you can't mess up live TV, and people, I mean you can, but try not to. People always say to me like, oh, I don't know how you talk for 20 minutes about I don't know, steam mop, for example. And I'm like, because I don't have a choice. Like, I can't just stop talking. I'm on live telly. Like, something will always pop into your head to say, and there'll always be another question, and so you can't mess up. Like, the pressure's too high, you can't mess up. And so it's a really, really good training ground to just like keep going and power through, even like if everything is falling apart around you.
Yeah, it's also crazy. People who haven't done any presenting live, it's crazy how quickly time goes by when you're live. Last week, I hosted these half an hour, 2 days, one half an hour live stream a day. It was going across primary schools in the UK for Network Rail, talking about safety for young children. And so one day was aged 4 to 6-year-olds, one day was 7 to 11-year-olds. And I swear it felt like 2 minutes from them going, over to you. And then at the end saying, thanks for watching, goodbye. It was a full half an hour. In fact, it was just over half an hour, both of them. It felt like minutes, a couple of minutes. And it's crazy how quickly it goes by, where you sometimes think, what was I even saying? What was I doing? And it just goes. But I think that's because if you enjoy it, don't you? So
yeah, that's it. I always say every time I'm at work, I'm like, time literally passes differently at QVC. Like, it's in that building, clocks work differently, I swear, because you're right, the time absolutely flies by. And you come off that's me every day, by the way. I come off what did I even just say? Like, couldn't tell you.
Well, we've been talking for such a long time. I have so many more things I could have asked you, but honestly, it's I don't want to make this like a 2-hour podcast episode. But before I let you go, what would be your piece of advice for anybody who's watching, who's a member of Presently, perhaps, who is thinking about how they can sort of get forward in this industry?
Just do all the jobs, like, unless it's something like we were discussing earlier that you're like just against, you don't want to put your face to. Do everything, even the stuff that isn't all that glamorous, like most jobs aren't. Like, go and do it. Even if you think it's not sort of within your niche, you will learn so much. You'll meet so many people. I've done so many things that are completely irrelevant to what I want to end up doing, and yet you meet people through those things. You learn skills that then might kind of benefit you later on when you get booked for the big thing that you really wanted to do, and you go, oh, actually, yes, I can do auto cue because I did it on that corporate job once, or whatever it might be. Just take every opportunity and just completely soak in every bit of knowledge you can possibly gain from everything that you do.
Oh, I love that. And it's so true. It surprises me so much how often I get a bigger job come through and they say, have you got any experience of X, Y, and Z? And you think, yeah, I actually have. Here's a link. And you think, I never thought that would have been useful, but it is. So anyway, I completely agree. But Laura, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And it's lovely to hear a little, because I don't actually know I know obviously we know each other, but I don't actually know your full journey. So it's been nice to hear. But thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your day.
And you.